was a movie, and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?
Hello and welcome to the show. I am so pleased that you are here, and I am excited this week to be talking about 5 things to look for in a relationship. And for those of you that are going through a divorce right now, or contemplating, or just got out of one and are thinking, hell no, I do not want to even think about that, I want you to stay tuned with us, please, because absolutely positively listening and trying to understand things that are necessary in a relationship are very good in the sense of being able to put into context and understand why or what some of the things that may have not been there in your relationship, and how you can fix that, and in the future look for that. I just ended a year-long relationship, and the reason, actually, before I get into this, I just want to welcome some of you to the community that have joined us this week. I want to welcome Sean, William, Tim, and Ernesto to the community, to the Divorced Advocate community. If you're interested in getting involved, check out the website at thedivorcedadvocate.com. Take the divorce quiz. That is still up. We haven't talked about it in a long time. Find out where you're at in comparison to others who have gone through the divorce process. It'll give you some immediate results that you can take a look at and kind of gauge where you're doing well, and or where you need to do a little bit more work. So check that out. That's still at the website at thedivorcedadvocate.com. And again, and as always, thank you for listening. Please share this far and wide on social media. Give us a star rating right now. Even better, pause and write a quick comment in your whatever podcast platform you're listening to, especially if you've listened to other episodes. That helps us immensely. It gets other people to listen to us and share, and just continue to build the community. So thank you for that. All right. So as I was saying, if you are going through divorce right now and you're thinking the last thing I want to think about is a relationship, the reason why I fell upon these 5 things is because I just got out of a year-long relationship, and I'm trying to understand and do some self-reflection and reflection on the relationship, and understand how I can show up better and have a healthier relationship in the future. And so these 5 things are coming from the Gottman Institute, and the Gottman Institute is out of Seattle, Washington. And what the Gottmans have done, it's a husband and wife team, and they have they claim that they can, with 95% accuracy, through their analysis of a couple through their decades of doing couples therapy, they can predict with 95% accuracy whether or not a couple is going to divorce. And they've tested this over decades now, so they've got the studies, and they've found a massive amount of information, obviously, doing their clinical work in addition to their couples therapy. And so these 5 things that we're going to talk about today come directly from the Gottman Institute, and I highly recommend checking that out. So even if you're not looking for a relationship right now, they've got a whole bunch of great information about relationships and divorce, how to show up, etc. So check it out at the Gottman. If you can just Google the Gottman Institute. Now, if you're looking to get into a relationship, or if you're like me and you've been dating post-divorce for a decade and still haven't figured it out, because obviously I have not figured it out, and it's been a decade, reflecting on some of this stuff and trying to understand this stuff is definitely helpful. I look at this list and I go, oh man, I wish I probably would have read this a little bit earlier. It might have helped me immensely, not only in my just immediate past relationship, but in many of my past relationships. So with that said, let's dive into what has been eye-opening for me in reflecting. And so these 5 elements should be, the Gottmans say, these 5 elements should be present in your relationship. So these are must-haves in a relationship, in any relationships, in order for it to be a healthy and functional relationship. And the first one probably won't come as a surprise to some, but if you're like me, sometimes you just have blinders or you make excuses, and that is honesty. Basically, flat out, do not trust somebody who lies to you. Don't come up with excuses for them for why they lied. Any lie, right? And you might say, well, it was a little white lie. People who lie about small things are going to lie about big things. So if you start seeing somebody lying, or even if you don't think that they're lying to you, but you see them lying to other people, if you see them lying to themselves, that for me is a really, really big sign. Is if they're lying if you just blatantly, and hopefully you'll be able to have a conversation. If it's a healthy enough relationship, you can have a healthy enough conversation around somebody that is lying to themselves. And now for us guys, sometimes that can be much easier with our buddies than it is with our romantic relationships, because guys seem to just be able to lay it out with each other and then get over it. I mean, there might be arguments, there might be hurt feelings, but they seem to be be able to get over it and then through it, and maybe they fight or maybe they get into physical squabble even, but then they get over it and they deal with it. That seems to be much harder for us with our romantic relationships, and that probably has something to do with the fact that we communicate in a different way with in our romantic relationships, and women do the same thing. So regardless, honesty is primarily the number one thing to be looking at. And if somebody's not being honest with you, then you need to seriously consider the future of the relationship, because that's not a perpetual thing that you want to get into, is a relationship with somebody who's going to be continually lying to you. So that's the first thing to look for in a relationship, is honesty. The second one is transparency. Are they an open book? Are they inviting you to look into their life, to participate in their life? Are they introducing you eventually, obviously, to family, to friends? You should be able to feel comfortable with them in asking them questions. And also not only asking them questions, but getting answers and being comfortable with the answers that you get. And if you're not comfortable with the answers that you get, that you're able to ask more questions until you are comfortable with the questions that you get. On a side note here, I will say that and this comes from the Gottmans also, and one of the things that I was recently reading as well is that if there is defensiveness around those questions, or if there is stonewalling around those questions, then that is a huge red flag and actually can be a relationship killer. If there's defensiveness and there's stonewalling around those questions, then you really need to start looking and determining whether or not that's going to be somebody. If everything's defensive all the time, if everything's a stonewall and you're not getting the answers that you're comfortable with, then again, you're going to have to seriously consider whether this is a relationship that you want to continue on with. Now, I do want to note, and they note also, that there's a difference between secrecy and privacy, right? We all need privacy, because it helps us to keep our healthy boundaries, but secrecy is very, very unhealthy. And now we don't want to be sharing all of our deepest, darkest secrets right in the beginning. And there's a time that we need to build and spend time and feel safe to be able to feel vulnerable. But the relationship should feel easy, and it should feel comfortable in getting to know them. So transparency is absolutely critical. Are they authentic about how they're showing up? Are they authentic about their past life? Are they authentic about how they're living their life currently? Are they authentic about what they want in the future, or what their views are for the future? or what their intentions are. That's a big one. Intentions, are they authentic, and are they showing up in that way? So transparency is another one of the 5 things to look for in a relationship. The next one is accountability. Do they keep their promises and follow through on their commitments? Actions speak louder than words. Now, you've probably, if you've listened to enough episodes, heard me say their actions will always tell you exactly what they think, how they feel, what their values are, everything about somebody. You need only to look and watch how they conduct themselves in their everyday life to know whether or not what they're saying is truly what they believe or the values that they hold or how they conduct their lives. Okay. So I'm going to use just a simple general example, which is somebody that claims to be healthy and fit in their lives, but does absolutely no exercise whatsoever. Right? It's inconsistent. Right? So somebody that's going to be accountable is going to show up how they say they're going to show up. So do they say that they're going to do something? Do they promise that they're going to do something? When you state what your needs are and you get agreement from them as to what it is that your needs are, and they agree to them, are they then accountable for their commitments to you and to your needs? And if the answer is no, then again, you need to really consider whether or not it's a relationship that you want to continue to have. Now, when I say that for each one of these, it doesn't mean like, oh, one of these is missing and you should just consider ending the relationship because maybe there's some work that needs to be done there. But as a whole, when you're looking at all 5 of these, is there a majority of these, or is there somebody that is showing up with most of these and maybe working on the rest of them? Or do you both have the ability to have a conversation and communicate about what it is that they're doing or how they're showing up or how you're showing up in the relationship? And is there accountability? And part of this accountability thing is often challenging for those of us who are codependent, because accountability, holding somebody accountable is, especially when they're crossing over our boundaries, and especially if we've been very clear through nonviolent communication, talking about stating what it is that our needs are, and getting agreement from them as to how they're going to show up and how they're going to meet our needs. And then if they don't do it and they cross those boundaries and they do not take care of our needs, or they do not respect our needs, then holding people accountable is really incredibly difficult oftentimes for those of us that are codependent. Oftentimes we can work through those first three steps of the nonviolent communication, or actually all 4 of them, but then when it comes time to hold somebody accountable, it's really incredibly difficult because it entails that uncomfortable conversation, if you will, that uncomfortable talk about, well, this is what the behavior was, this is how it makes me feel, this is what I had requested as my need, and I had stated that we came to agreement, and then you didn't do it. And then that becomes a whole process of maybe renegotiating that if it was something that wasn't feasible. But first and foremost, that person has to take accountability. So if you start getting, again, the defensiveness or the stonewalling, or here's a huge sign. If you get excuses immediately, like, well, it was this or it was that, or you weren't clear, especially if they start to try to reverse that onto you as to, well, you weren't clear about that, or I thought you were kidding, or whatever it might be. If they're not taking full accountability for themselves, for the actions, for their lives really in general, then absolutely, positively, this is a red flag that you really, really need to pay attention to. So, and some of these 5 that we're talking about here are, many of you have maybe heard several of our episodes with Dr. Sean Smith, and he wrote a fantastic book for men called The Tactical Guide to Women, and then a fantastic book for women called The Practical Guide to Men. And he talks about red flags and things to look out for. Some of the stuff we're talking about here is more very dialed in and more specific, but I also recommend those books as well. And for you dads that are starting to date, also take a listen to our sister podcast, Dad's Dating After Divorce. You can find that on any one of the major podcast platforms as well. I'm still working on developing that a little more. It's been a while since we've done an episode, but we've got a few good episodes already in there with Dr. Sean Smith and some others. So check that out as well. It's a little plug for my little sister project that I'm working on here. So accountability. To summarize, take a look at the person and their lives. Are they accountable for their actions? All of our choices. Life equals our series of choices, and are we accountable for each of those choices? Okay, the next thing to look for in a relationship is ethical actions. If you are detecting immoral actions or you're uncomfortable with their morals in general, just move on. Now, this goes to the first half of Dr. Sean Smith's book, which is really getting to know and understand and learn yourself, because only through doing that will you be able to know and understand what your morals are, what your values are, what your beliefs are. And then hopefully you have taken the time to develop those, maybe write a list of those, and write a list of ones that are non-negotiable for you. And then when you guys are starting in a relationship, or when you're starting with somebody new in a relationship, you know exactly what those are and what your non-negotiable ethical actions are and are not. If you don't, that is when there can be huge problems, because then you're just kind of rudderless, if you will. You're on the water without any direction as to where you want to go, because you don't even know what it is that you want or what you believe in, or how you should, or how you are showing up in the world. Hopefully you know. And if you don't, this divorce process, right, is a fantastic time to be able to assess some of the stuff about how you have been showing up in the world, in not only in your marriage or your past marriage, but in the world, and how you want to show up in it and how you want to go forward. In the private coaching, and when I'm working in private practice, one of the things we talk about are those 5 steps. Is beginning with creating your vision and direction, where you want to be. Right. We might talk a little bit about where you have been, but really the most important thing is intentionality, where you want to go and what you want to do. And then we have those next 4, which is going through the process of creating the life that you want, so that you're actually showing up in what you believe in and moving yourself in the direction that you want to do. Now, it sounds really easy when I describe it that way, right? But when you get into everyday life and all that's going on with work and kids and exes and everything else, then that becomes very, very complicated with all the moving parts in our lives. And I know I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know, but it is absolutely critical. If you don't know, if you don't understand yourself, then take the time. Read Sean Smith's book. He lays it out for you about what you need to be paying attention to, what you need to know about yourself, and understanding all of those things before you get into a relationship. So those of you who are listening in the middle of divorce, again, this is an opportunity, right? You hear me say it. I know that you go, what are you talking about? This is crazy, Jude. How is this an opportunity? This is an opportunity for you to reflect on how you showed up in the relationship, because it takes 2. That's another great question, is when you meet somebody and you ask them, well, tell me about your last relationship and tell me why it ended. And if that person is only talking about why the other person did something wrong or was responsible for the ending of the relationship, that is just another red flag. And that goes back to accountability, really, right? And honesty, being honest with yourself, being accountable for your actions, because none of these relationships happen only with one person, right? It takes two people to do the dance. So there is a dynamic that happens in all relationships, and there are two people that are responsible for that dynamic. So if somebody says, well, it was only them, it was this or that, and they did this, or they're not, they're a narcissist. Oh my God, if hear that one more time, like that's like red flag number one. They're a narcissist. Okay, great. What does that mean? Tell me about the relationship. What was the dynamic? What was your part in that narcissistic relationship? If they can't answer that, I mean, that's a great question. Oh, they're a narcissist. What was your responsibility, or how did you show up in that narcissistic dynamic? Because they're the narcissist and we were what? I mean, we were in a relationship with them. So, I mean, I'm getting into some dating minutia here, or at least some questioning minutia from some people, but it's just, I'll wrap it back up to the ethical actions part of it. Just make sure you know who you are before you are able to get into a relationship, and on how you're showing up, so that then you are able to look across the table and say, yes, this is somebody I feel comfortable with, or this person's actions are not something that I am comfortable with. And, I have to be true with that, and I have to move on. So that's number fourth thing to look for in a relationship. And the last one, the fifth one, is proof of alliance. Now, this is really, really critical. And I feel like in our day and age right now, this is one that a majority of relationships are missing across the board, just not romantic relationships. Proof of alliance. Do they take your needs into account, or do they only act out of their own self-interest? Now, it feels like in this age of having no commitment to anything, to a cell phone plan, to what you eat, to anything, and there's so many choices, 500 cereals in the grocery store, or so many different phones, or on the dating app, like a million different people that you can meet from anywhere in the world. That this proof of alliance is critical, because everything feels like, not everything, but so much feels like a transaction. Like this is just transactional, that the relationships are just transactional and not relational. And the difference is transactional is that I'm doing something to get something from you, or you're doing something to get something from me. And it's just a transaction. But in a romantic relationship, it is not just a transaction. It's just not, I get from you, you get from me. I mean, and if somebody's only acting in their own self-interest, then that is a problem. If they're able to demonstrate, though, to you that they have your back, even in small ways, then that is a great sign. And so, you kind of think about it in the context of a good teammate and a bad teammate. If any of you have played sports, but even if you haven't, you've done school projects, or you've worked in teams at work or something, those good teammates that have your back, that are looking out for you, that may go beyond what they need to in order to help you out, and they're not just acting in their own self-interest. Now, if that's not happening in your relationship, and God, man, I tell you what, the one that gets me the most crazy right now is we hear all this stuff about housework, and who does more housework and not housework. And, there's these studies of who does the most, and then who does the more work at work and hours. And it's like, holy crap, this is not just a transaction, and nothing is ever going to be 50% in any relationship, nor should it be. And every relationship is going to be so different. So trying to dial this and boil this down to like, who does more housework, who takes more children, who pays more of the bills, who brings more of the money back. I mean, it is so complicated to just get along in life, and in doing life, and then having kids, and then having a relationship and getting by, that, getting into this transactional thing, like, oh, I did it once, you're going to do it once, I'm going to do it once, you're going to do it, is absolutely asinine. And so, that's, again, this goes back to that proof of alliance. Do Are you able to state your needs? Are they able to state their needs? Are you guys able to come into agreement and then honor those agreements together and work together, and oftentimes put your own self-interests aside in order to help that person? Sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's challenging, sometimes it's just, it's just not fun, right? But a relationship's not going to be 50-50 all the time. And so are they able to demonstrate that they can be a good teammate like that, that they can have your back, that they're going to cover for you, that they're going to help you out, they're going to lift you up, they're going to support you, they're going to encourage you? Are they doing all of those things? Is there a proof of alliance that you feel like that you are loved, that somebody is in this battle, in this challenging time in life with you? And if the answer is no, you need to have a conversation about that. And if the conversation falls on deaf ears, that's a sign. If the conversation gets agreement, but then there's no accountability around it, right? And that the boundary is not sustained, then that's another conversation that you have. And then you need to consider, is this a healthy relationship, or is it somebody that can actually be able to show up in the manner in which you're asking? So a lot of this, again, is complicated. Find a therapist. Find a good couples therapist. The Gottman Institute, they have their different trainings that they will train the couples therapists on their different methods, and then they have a whole system for going through things and creating a healthier relationship, or a healthy relationship. And so find a therapist or find a coach. Janelle Green's been on our show many times. She's a fantastic relationship coach. Find a relationship coach that can help you as well in these. But these are really the basic 5 things to look for in a relationship. If you don't have them and you're trying to save your relationship, then get into therapy or get some coaching. If you are just going through a divorce or a breakup, then look at where you did not have these in your relationship and pay attention to when you ignore them. I'm looking back on my past year. I'm looking at these 5s, and I'm reflecting. I'm going back and reading journal entries and looking at text messages and writing journal entries and doing prayer and doing meditation and doing reflection, and trying to find the times where some of this stuff showed up and I was not paying attention to it, or I paid attention to it and I didn't handle it a way in which would have moved the relationship forward in order to potentially have a better relationship, or where it was just completely disregarded. So I'm going through this right now with these 5 and looking and trying to remember and trying to figure out how to be better and show up better. It is an opportunity, no matter what, whether you're going through a divorce, whether you're starting a new relationship, whether you're ending a subsequent a divorce, post-divorce relationship. They're all opportunities for self-reflection, for understanding, for growth, and hopefully doing better today than you did last time, doing better in the next relationship than you did in either your marriage or your last relationship, and continuing to show up and do better so that you can have those healthy relationships. It's really, really critical. And those of you that are sour on relationships, sour on divorce, I understand, but take the time to heal. That just is telling you that that is not time yet. And I read another great thing on the Gottman website that they said, how do you know when it is time for you to move on? Or I'm sorry, how do you know when you're ready for that next relationship? And they said, when you feel comfortable to be by yourself and not looking for the relationship or getting something out of a relationship, and this is the critical one, you can imagine a healthy future, or a healthy future within a relationship within the context of a relationship. So when you're feeling comfortable by yourself, and then you're starting to imagine a future with a healthy relationship, that's when you're ready to get back in there. And that's going to be different for everybody. I've always struggled with that question. when do I start dating again? And I thought that was a really fantastic answer, because it's going to be different for everybody depending upon childhood trauma, what your divorce was like, what your relationship was like, what you're going through now. All the circumstances is different for everybody. But once you feel comfortable by yourself, with yourself, and then you can start having thoughts and visions about a healthy future and a healthy relationship, then that is when you can start to move forward and get into a new relationship. So I hope that you enjoyed this content. The 5 things to look for in a relationship: honesty, transparency, accountability, ethical actions, and proof of alliance. Check out the Gottman Institute for a lot more information. And if you found value in me sharing this today, please leave us a comment. Pause and leave us a comment, please. It helps us so much. Or leave us a star rating. Share this on social media far and wide. Go to the website at thedivorcedadvocate.com. Dive in, get involved in the community, in the group meetings, or any one of the other events that we have going on, and get the support that you deserve. Thanks so much for listening. I sincerely appreciate it. Have a terrific week, and God bless you.
Be the hero of your own movie. If your life was a movie and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie